Hey guys, welcome to Talking Strongman. This week's guest is the two-time under 105 or middleweight world's strongest man, Anthony Fuhrman. Anthony, how's things, buddy?
Hey, things are good, Laurence. I appreciate you having me here. It's pretty dope to be talking to you.
I'm excited to have you on. You're an exciting athlete. Lots and lots of people have actually wanted me to get you on. I started off with some of the old strongman legends, but the goal is to kind of focus on all levels of strongman on here. It's not just about, the past greats or the likes of Brian Shaw or Lissis. The sport's really evolved over the last few years, and people like yourself have kind of stepped in as under 105 champion. We've got some awesome guys and awesome girls as well, all different weight classes. The sport is growing. You've got like an army background, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm actually still active duty.
Still active?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been in for 14 years now.
Wow. So how old are you right now?
32.
32. Okay. And you started Strongman. I think you were saying to me just before, you started Strongman in 2015.
Yeah. 2015, my first competition was June. I competed against Ken Nowicki, actually, in Denver.
Did you? Old friend of mine, Ken Nowicki. Yeah, he's living out in the States now, isn't he?
Yep. Fun fact about that is I knew him because the first Strongman show I saw in the modern era, I would say, because I watched it growing up like everyone else. And then I kind of lost it. And I saw a 2012 Giants Live. You were in there too. I think you set a British deadlift record.
Okay, yeah.
And he was there. So I was like, oh my gosh. I was brand new. I was starstruck.
It's so funny when you first get into it. I remember one of my first big competitions was in Sweden. And I was always a big Magnus Samuelsson fan. And I saw Magnus was competing. He was obviously in Sweden. And you sort of see these guys that you looked up to. But then you start competing and you think, actually, they're not that far ahead. I can cope with these guys. And your confidence grows. And then you start to believe you can really challenge. And it's nice to, I think most of the guys in Strongman, from through all the levels, they're quite a friendly bunch. It's quite a close.
I couldn't agree more. It's I've never not felt welcomed. Hell, even I did my first Arnold Pro show last year, the Arnold South Africa. All 5'11", 265 pounds of me. And Novikov, Shiblikov, Jerry, they just all were so welcoming. They treated me as like an equal, and I couldn't believe it because, in my mind, I'm like, all right, why am I here? But they made me feel welcome. I was able to perform above my expectations because I was more relaxed.
Awesome. Was that your first kind of pro open show? Yeah,
that was my first. Gerhard invited me, and I was like, all right, let's go, let's try it. Why not? And it was, I couldn't have asked for more. I mean, I outperformed how I did. I beat a few of them on the farmers, actually, because grip is kind of my thing.
Nice.
And just, I felt like I belonged, even though I got destroyed, which was nice.
And that's a heavy competition as well, I think they put on over there.
Yeah, it was a 400 pound per hand farmer for 60 feet. And it was like a yoke medley with 1,000 pounds and 1,200 pounds. And I remember I picked up the 1,200 pound and I just knew, I was like, uh-oh. And I took 2 steps, I did it.
Yeah, that's a heavy yoke to have on your back. Especially essentially you compete in the middleweights, the under 105 categories is where you sort of, I guess, specialize. Not, I know you like to compete against the heavyweights as well, but that's where you've been 2 times world champion. So stepping up against those monsters, it is a step up.
Better. Yeah, it makes you better. You train harder. You train a little different. So I was attacking different weaknesses. And just the fact that I'm getting humbled and beat, it kind of levels me out. I know, when you spend a long time getting beat and then you cut weight and you go against guys at your own skill level again, it just makes you a better athlete.
Oh, definitely. Was it nice to not have to cut as well?
That was nice. I've actually been very lucky. My body responds very well. Usually I don't even have to sauna. I walk around generally 245, which is like 110, 111 kilos roundabout. So it's not a huge cut.
So it's like a 12 to 15 pound cut normally for you, I guess.
Yeah, I just manipulate water and sodium and stuff, and usually I don't have to sweat. Some people have to cut a lot more than that. So
I'll tell you what, just because it's interesting, and obviously you're one of the top weighted category athletes out there. Talk us through your cutting process, because it's a question a lot of people aren't so sure of, especially if they're just that little bit over a weight class. And if you're, I guess, 240 pounds, for instance, you don't want to be competing in the opens, particularly when you're new to this. So what's your kind of protocol to try and make weight?
Oh, that's a good question. So first step, I tell people to try to stay within 15 to 20 pounds of their weight class. And that's going to set you up for success. And you'll feel better because you're eating a little better. about a week and a half out or so. So if I have a weigh-in on a Friday, I count back about 10 days. And I started drinking 2 gallons of water a day for about 5 days. Up until that Sunday, it's 1.5 gallons, 1 gallon Monday, half gallon Tuesday, quarter gallon Wednesday, about 20 ounces Thursday, up until like 3 p.m. and then nothing till weigh-in.
Yeah.
I also overload on salt until Wednesday. Then I cut all salt out, and then I cut carbs out, and I just have boiled chicken. And the weight, I'll wake up every night. I wake up about 4 pounds lighter almost that week. I'm cutting water, and it's just natural reaction.
It's an amazing process, and it's you know, I've helped a few people make weight for various different contests, and I agree with you. I don't think people should try and cut too hard, because it's going to affect your performance if you end up having to cut too much weight. But if you can kind of keep your body weight within a certain percentage, and then you do that safer cut, you can then hydrate back up, especially if it's a pre-comp weigh-in. Some contests, when it's on the day, it's a little bit tougher, but
which I'm actually an advocate. I wish we would do more day of weigh-ins, because it's just, to me, that's more natural kind of for sport. Like, you know, you cut down, like Olympic weightlifting, that's how they control it. So you got to cut, weigh in, and then compete. Whereas this way, you don't have 270-pound guys competing in the 230-pound class.
I agree. I mean, it's tough. Like when I started, there was really no weight classes. They did have the under 105s, but it was, to be honest, it was real under 105s. You know, whereas after a while, they were starting to get these guys that they you know, go through these harsh cuts to make it, because they didn't want to try and go and compete against the big boys. And it is tough, because that jump up, it's not like, you know, you could almost do with a sort of a 260 class in strongman.
Yeah, which we have in the States here. We have a subclass at the national level.
Okay.
But, you know, like I said, the open, though, I think you know, people, it's all how you look at it. I don't look at losing as a bad thing. I look at it as you sit back, you improve on, you look at what you need to improve on. It just, if you don't eat humble pie, you're always going to be hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no,
you got to have humble pie.
I agree. To be honest, some of the best learning curves that I went through was just getting my ass kicked by better guys. You know, I was
going to say, I liken it to almost MMA. I used to do a little bit of fighting back in the mid 2000s.
I've seen some of the videos.
In training, I just got the shit kicked out of me a lot.
Yeah.
But it prepared me. I was training against people better than me. Even wrestling in high school, wrestlers, you always go against the top people, and you adapt. You adapt. Your skill level adapts. Your body adapts. You learn, and you get better. That's how muscles grow. That's how skills grow. You get beat up, and then it gets stronger.
I think too many people are scared of losing these days. You get so many guys, and I've even had clients myself. They're like, "Oh, I don't think I'm strong enough to compete yet." It's like, get stuck in and learn and kind of go through that little process. I mean, it's a bit different. I think in fighting, sometimes people are trying to protect a win record and stuff like that. But for a sport like strongman, you need to go through that. You almost go through that apprentice stage where you need to go and learn, and just not just learning in the gym, but actually learning to compete under a competitive environment and coping with different situations, different things happening, using different equipment. So many guys I see, they're great on their bits of kit. Suddenly you take them to a different show with you know, different implements and things like that, and it makes a huge difference. So just getting that experience is massive.
That too, and also I think a lot of people's training methods, the way I've always done, and I have people train, is it's very stressful. The body's under stress during when I'm training. So I know some guys, they'll take 3 or 4 or 5, 6 days off before they deadlift. They'll take days off so they could deadlift better. That's great, except that's never going to happen in competition. You're never going to be well, unless maybe it's the first event. But even then, like, you compete under stress. You compete while you're beat up. You compete under non-optimal conditions. So I train almost exclusively beat up, non-optimal, so that the competition days are my easiest days.
Yeah. No, it's a great method to use, and I think, like you say, I mean, it's a learning process I went through early on in my sort of once I turned pro and I was competing against some of the best guys, because that jump from sort of the amateur level to the pro level is quite a big jump, even for guys that are good. And I had a few events I was exceptionally good at, but one thing I noticed when I got to that higher level, after 3 events of giving absolutely everything to try and hang with these guys, I was spent, and I didn't have the energy then for event 4, 5, 6 or whatever it might be, and I had to learn to kind of make sure I had the endurance to last the whole competition. So it took a couple of years to really understand that, and then adapt my training, incorporate a lot more sets of heavy, maybe not like 1 rep maxes, but I was doing a lot of heavy sets in training, multiple sets, not just a one-off, like, 1 lift and then you're done. It was, 8 sets of 3 or something like that. And, your body has to cope with that again and again and again. Then on top of that, event training, which becomes, I think for people coming from powerlifting, that's the one that really kind of messes them up, because the events, I think lifting a weight, you can train someone to do and you can get stronger, but coping with a shield crushing down on your chest, or you feel your grip going on a farmer's walk for distance where you can't drop it, and those events where it's that mental strength, that's a real separator a lot of the time.
Yep. And so going back, I want to touch on a couple of things. Going back to, you're saying the heavy sets over time, I tell people strongman is not a test of strength. It's not strength. It's a test of strength. So you have to have the strength built, and it's not even necessarily absolute strength. It's the ability to sustain strength. And that's what we're talking about. You near max over time, not just a one-off. And that's a big difference a lot of people don't understand. And then the events, it's a mental game. That's one thing I've always told people I have an advantage. I've always enjoyed Husafel and stuff like that. And they're like, why? I'm like, it's 60 seconds. It's 2 minutes. I've had to walk 25 miles in Afghanistan, dude. That was hard.
Yes.
Like, so like it is a mental thing. It's how your body adapts to stressors and just how you look at things. So that's why I always preach. I just train harder than you need to for a competition, and the competition will be smooth sailing,
Excellent. No, I like it. Excellent methods. And, so many of the top guys have that same philosophy. And it's creating that mental toughness that you need to be competitive, not just to lift a weight from up and down from A to B, but to do it under pressure with other people. It gets to that point as an athlete. I remember being, you do your training, you plan it all out, you lift the numbers you got to lift, and then it gets to competition, and someone will do either a certain amount of reps or a certain distance on something or a certain time. And as a competitor, all I was thinking is, I'll do more. And in my head, I was like, I don't care what they do, I'm going to do a bit more. And that's what you're trying to create in your head.
Yeah, another thing that's unique for me, a lot of people don't do, I rarely train competition weight or distance or whatever. I'm not a big fan of knowing exactly what I can do, because that scenario happens every time. Like, I've done it before. I knew I had 8 reps in me, and I'm like, oh, wait, I got to do 10 though. And so that starts messing with you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes I don't know what I can do, so we're just going to go, and I know I have to do 10 to win. So, and I think that's a very solid it's like almost mental gymnastics. It's a way to trick your mind into producing more than you otherwise could.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you want your best performance to be at the competition, not in the gym.
I can't tell how many lifts I failed in the gym. Like, I've never pulled over 800 pounds in the gym. And I pulled it like 3 times in competition. Yeah. So it's like, sometimes I fail at 700.
But that shows the competitor in you,
Yeah.
And in my prime, I was exactly the same. It was literally, I didn't want to do my best lifts in the gym. And if I look at all my PBs, whether it be squatting, benching, deadlifting, overhead, logs, axles, all of my PBs are done in competition.
Yep.
Not in the gym.
If you're a competitor, that's how it has to be. It's fun. It's fun to get big lifts for the gram and all that stuff. But if you're a competitor, you're going to do it on the floor.
I mean, I know you like farmers walk and grip events and stuff. I actually hate training farmers, and in the gym, I'm pretty rubbish at it, because I find it's one of those events I've really got to motivate myself to do. And the best way for me to motivate myself is competition. Other people can have beaten, but my training partners can beat me all the time at farmers. Put me in a competition, they don't get close.
Yeah. Everyone has that thing they don't like, and and so unless you're properly motivated, you're just not going to perform well. It's one of those things. I agree. Mine, a lot of time, mine is log press. I'm not a fan of log press. I mean, I like it and everything, but like, if I had to pick one of like the event lifts, I'm just like, that's when I dread. I'm like, man, I'm just so tired every time I do it.
So what's your best log? What's your best log for max?
I have hit from the ground. I have hit a 385 pound.
Okay, still.
And I was about 250 when I did that.
Yeah.
It's okay. That 400 pound, I've been chasing that for a while. It's for whatever reason, that's a tough one to get over.
But the thing is, you'll see so many guys that are exceptionally good at log, but they're not necessarily great strongmen.
True. That you said with a lot of things, a lot of good deadlifters that aren't good strongman, a lot of guys that are good at carries that aren't good at deadlift. You know, it's really about being the total package.
Exactly. I was just going to say, I think the important thing to be a good athlete or to win competitions is to be good all round. You know, if you probably I mean, what are your best numbers for powerlifting lifts?
So in a meet, I've only done one powerlifting meet. It was just kind of on a whim. I totaled like 18 something. It was okay. I have some better lifts in the gym. I have a 505-pound bench press.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm just good at bench.
Yeah, that for someone that doesn't like overhead, that's a great bench.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I got some built. A 705-pound squat and a 815-pound deadlift. No, yeah.
See, they're still great numbers. Absolutely great numbers.
Those aren't world record numbers.
Yeah, but there's some guys that do insane numbers in powerlifting, but yet they come over to strongman and they're not as competitive as people think.
Well, yeah, because they can't get those 4 bags over that bar in 18 seconds like I can. You know, it's things like that. And like I will probably never ever have a world record, but I rarely lose in my weight class because I'm not the best at any one thing. I'm always trying to place top 3. That's it.
And that's an important factor. I had Magnus Magnuson on, who's one of the greatest strongmen of all time, 4 times world's strongest man. And he said exactly the same. He never won events. He just didn't come outside the top 3 very often on events.
And that's really the key.
Yeah. Anyway, take me back to the beginning of what got you into strongman, because you know you've got an interesting story. You've kind of really dominated the middleweight scene for a while, but I only heard of you like in the last year, if I'm totally honest. You know, I was, you know,
that's fine. That's how it is.
Everyone's like, you got to look at this kid. I was like, okay, he's he's good. But yeah, tell me where you came from. What was the background and what got you involved? Have you always been a fan of strongman, or did you just kind of go on? I'll let you tell your story.
So growing up, ESPN, everyone saw. I was a Pujanowski kid. Growing up, he was just. I love watching him. I caught the tail end of Magnus right into the Pujanowski era. And I remember watching ESPN. It was just so awesome. I loved it. You know, then I played football, joined the Army, and you know, I was deploying a lot, so I didn't really have a lot of time for. It was in 2006 I joined, so the height of the Iraq War. I deployed Iraq once and Afghanistan twice, so it wasn't a whole lot of time there to compete or you know, besides normal training to stay fit for that, right? I messed my knee up and I had to have surgery. And I was out for a little bit. I couldn't run, which was kind of all I knew because you do calisthenics in the Army, obviously. So I started lifting again. And I think within 3 months of lifting, I had a 600-pound deadlift, which, you know, now it's like 6, but then it was like, wow, whoa, you know.
Especially after that time frame, that's amazing.
And it came naturally. And I remember a guy named Mark Taysom. He's a lightweight pro here. He very well-respected strongman coach. He was like, you're kind of strong, but can you lift this? And I was like, that's a stone. I remember that. 300-pounder, and I loaded it I think on my first or second try, and I had never felt like such a man in my life. I couldn't explain it, and I was hooked. That was in 2015. And from then I dove it. I got into YouTube and I watched 30 years of history within like a week. And I was all in. It was immediate. It was a love.
So were you able to train properly like back then? Obviously, you know,
very lucky. Fort Carson, Colorado had a program. This Mark Taysom, he worked with the division, and he ran a tactical athlete program, and he used a lot of strongman implements because they carry over to what we do. We carry jugs, carry people, whatever we got to do. So I had access to a lot of the stuff. Very blessed, especially in 2015. It wasn't quite as big as it is now. I mean, it was still, you know. So yeah, but back then I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just kind of like winging it. You know, coaching wasn't as big a thing back then.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot that way by just being around people. I got to meet Mike Burke because it was in Colorado.
That's cool.
I'll never forget. I went up there with Stan Carradine and Mike Burke, and I'm standing there with Stan doing circus demo, and I look out of the corner and I see some dude with 4 plates on a shoulder press, like just pumping them out, like warming up. And I was like, who's that? And they're like, oh, that's Mike Burke. And he came over and just like crushed my hand and like, how you doing, boy? And like
he's probably like the most manly man you'll ever meet as well. He's just
pumping it out. And I was just like, that's 405 pounds. I can't even squat that. Like
he was such an explosive athlete as well. He didn't look the most powerful guy in the world, but damn, he was strong.
Yeah, he's crazy. Just I got to train around him a few times, not even really knowing who he was, and like looking back, man, I should have got his autograph.
I'd love to get a hold of him. I don't know what he's doing these days, but
I think he's just working. I think he went back to his life. But yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while actually myself. Maybe next mountain I'll try and hook up with him in Colorado.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Oh, definitely. So when was your first competition? What was that like for you?
Fun. I had so much fun. It was called Parker Days in Parker, Colorado.
Okay.
Like I said, Tyler Stickle competed. He's working with Brian Shaw right now. He's his training partner, 105 guy. And I just remember like it was a blast. Like Mike was a judge actually at that show, and I didn't win any event, I don't think, but I had so much fun. I couldn't like just chasing people like and it'd been so long since I competed, and it's very hard to describe because I don't know if I felt it since. It was almost just like cathartic, being able to express myself physically.
It's very strange. I think that first competition is, you never get that feeling again.
Yeah.
I've recently got into arm wrestling, and it's made me feel like a novice again, and I love it. I'm not good. I'm not like, I don't sit here and say I'm good or anything, but I like that because I think with Strongman, I did it for so long. I almost got, I'm not bored of it, but it just became my job.
It's a routine. It's what you do. I'm punching in today. Like, it was just fun, but
yeah, it just becomes what you do. But that first show when it's just exciting and new, and you
sense of wonderment. Like I get done with my event, I'm like, where's the juice?
Yeah, I was so sore after my first competition. I literally gave everything I had. Didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I loved every second of it, and you just get hooked by it.
And this was in a parking lot, just sun beating down in June, and and I was so hot, but it was so much fun. Like I got sunburned, and such a blast. I met new friends. Every time I compete, I come over with a friend at least.
That's a great thing with Strongman. It's a friendly sport. There's so many. There's not many people I think that go through, I've got a lot of friends, from school and stuff like that, and they just don't go through the daily routine of a strongman. So I think when you find someone with that same like-mindedness, it's just cool just to sit and chat and talk about stuff. And
for me, it's almost like, so football for me was a brotherhood, and I found that same kind of thing in the Army. People talk about it, but it really does exist. And for me, Strongman is really as close as I've seen outside of football, and I'm talking American football, by the way.
I got that. I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh man. Anyways,
I'll get in trouble because I'm not really a soccer fan anyway. So
no.
So I'm more of a rugby player. So in the UK, rugby is kind of closer to American football anyway. We just do battle the big pads. So but.
Rugby's pretty tough. I played rugby before. It's tough.
That's a good game. It is, yeah.
But yeah, Strongman is also, when you get that tight group, it's about brother. You guys can kid with each other. You're there for each other. Some of my best friends I compete against.
Yeah.
Some of my very best friends now. I've lost to a good friend. I've beaten good friends, and I root for them as I did 10 reps, and I'm rooting for them after that. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about competitively, but that's what makes it special.
I agree. I've got so many good friends through the sport, and I think there's a lot of people create those relationships, and even sometimes I look back at some of the old guys. You see guys like Kaz, who was just such an animal, and when he competed, he didn't like anyone. But even you watch him now, he's so supportive of the guys that do it, and I think when you've been through that punishment yourself, just, even if you don't like the guy, you've got to have some respect for them. But I think most of us get on pretty well.
On through punishment. Same thing in the Army. So I'm an infantry guy. That's my job in the Army. The grunts, and we go through a little more of the pain, I would say. So you have that bond. Whereas I asked another infantryman, like, "Hey man, you trying to, get in the suck today and go to the sand and just hate your life?" Like, "Yeah, bro, let's go," because you've been through it. Like,
yeah,
it's just how it is.
I saw a video recently with you and Lissis, and you looked like you were killing him.
Oh man, so we set this up. He was going to come visit before I tore my bicep, so it kind of sucked because I was limited on what I could do with him. I was only 1 month post-op, but he's a amazing athlete, especially for his size. We took him to the Special Forces obstacle course, and I thought he was going to do maybe 12 up to 35 because it's a mile and a half of courses. He did all of them, except few that because he's not a big fan of heights, but everyone he tried, he did, and I couldn't believe it. He's so much fun to be around because he's another guy. He just likes to do things, and have fun and have that new experience.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He got to shoot with some real badass special forces guys too. He learned how to shoot an M4.
That's cool.
MP5, yeah.
Nice. I need to come over. Once the situation's better, I want to sort of travel around and kind of try to train with you guys and just get about. It's been obviously a really crap year for plans that everyone had, I think, but at least we've got Zoom and I can talk to you guys from here, and hopefully maybe next year. Say that again. Sorry, just saying that it broke up.
Oh, I say this has been really cool. You starting this up and kind of just getting everyone involved, like you said earlier. I really think thank you for having someone that's not, a Giants Live World's Strongest Man competitor, because, like you said, it's grown and just there's value in so many different levels of the sport.
I think that's an important thing as well. I think if we want the sport to grow, we need to look beyond just those few elite guys. You look at the way fighting is, and there's some amazing characters in the female categories, in the lighter weight categories and stuff like that. And it becomes a little bit more relatable to the normal person.
Yeah.
Because it's great looking up at the Thor Bjornsons and the Brian Shaws, but how many guys are built like Thor and Brian?
Exactly. I tell people all the time, like, yes, they're awesome. They're amazing. We should be, fawning over them and all that, but I am never going to be 6'8". No. I'm never going to be 400 pounds. I know that. The best I can do is be the best I can do, or do the best I can do and be the best I can be. So training to your potential is something that coaches need. I've seen a lot of coaches get people, they train people as they're training, and they're not training people as they needed to train for them, their body type, and their stuff. And it's coming along. It's getting a lot better than it was even 2 years ago, to be honest.
Oh, there's a lot of good coaches now. There's a lot of people that, like you say, will just teach people what they do. I mean, I've always said I get a lot of people come and watch. They watch the way I deadlift, or they'll see like the way Eddie Hall deadlifts, and then they get confused because I'm not getting them to kind of squat down and try and drive the legs up with the hips. But they're like, "But you do that." I was like, "You're built completely differently to me. Don't look at an Eddie Hall. Look at someone like an Adam Bishop or Ulysses or someone like that. That's you've got to look at people that your physical stature is more relatable to." And
yeah, when I first started learn how to properly deadlift, I remember I was looking at guys. I don't know if Pete Rubish is.
Yes, yeah, I know.
I looked at him and Adam Dirks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm kind of built like them. So I tried something and boom, it clicked. Because I was really wide. I was doing the whole trying to like squat. I did because I didn't know what I was doing. So I just saw the good guys doing it. And that's really how I learned. Yeah, just trial and error.
It's understanding that we're all built differently and it's not a one-way fits all. And I think that's where, that's one thing that's so good about the internet now. There's so much information out there with so many different people. It's not that hard to find. I've always said to people, because people have different cues that they use for coaching, and someone will say something in a certain way that will just relate to you. And it could have the same, meaning that the way someone else is saying it, but just the way it's said can sort of click, and you just think, okay, that makes sense now. Light bulb goes off, and suddenly it's working.
So my favorite cue, it's funny you say that. My favorite cue, it's kind of vulgar, so I don't know.
Go on.
Can we cut this if it's too vulgar?
Okay, what lift are we talking about?
Deadlift.
Okay.
So to finish the lift, obviously you want to fire the glutes, right? Hips.
Yeah.
The glutes are the muscle that finishes the lift almost, right?
Yeah.
So some people, they get to the knee and they struggle a little bit, and I just go, use the prison clench.
That's not too bad. I thought we were going to go worse.
Yeah. You don't know what I mean, Google it, I guess. just clench like you're in prison and you'll finish that lift.
It's a great tip. There you go, guys. You're getting the best deadlift tips for your lockout here from Anthony. You're not talking from experience there, though, are you?
No, I used to watch Oz on HBO. It's just one of those things that some people, and I've seen it click. People immediately, they're like, because it's an anime, it's an out there thing that's like, oh, like, I know what you mean by that. Squeeze. Like.
We're gonna get loads of people watching this, smashing some new PBs on deadlift now.
There you go. You're welcome.
It's good. It's good. I mean, talking of coaching, tell me about the Strengthlete, because this is, you got it on the T-shirt there, yeah. The Strengthlete Collective, isn't it?
Yes, Strengthlete
Yep.
Collective.
So I know this is something you're heavily involved with.
Yeah, I'm actually a co-founder of it with my business partner. So in May, I released an ebook called Strengthlete 1.0, and it was just all it was is an off-season and it through athleticism, power, and confidence I was talking about. So you have to be trained for athleticism, you have to train your power, and you have to be confident in the events. That was the main focus of it. It exceeded my wildest expectations of the people that are purchasing the feedback I got. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Because I'm not that big, right? I'm really, I'm not as well known. So it blew my mind, and it got me thinking, like, there's people being underserved, because a lot of times, I know it's a little different in Europe, but in the States, coaching is fairly expensive.
Yeah.
And if people pay it, it's okay. I mean, it's your time. So you dictate how much your time's worth, and that's fine. And a lot of guys are worth it, but that doesn't mean everybody can afford it. And I saw a lot of people that otherwise could have been served better and done better not having that ability, because there's a big difference between open source information and coaching, like the quality. So I got together I started contacting people I knew, friends, with an idea. We are going to provide programs and templates. Right now, I think we have 17 available for launch that's coming soon. It's one monthly fee, and you can access all of them you want. So for example, I'm going to have an overhead press program.
Yep.
And this is going to have a farmer's yoke program. So you could run both of those at the same time.
Sure.
It's never been done before. Usually you pay per program, like $35 for a program or so. But you can, if you want to run 5 programs at once on our site, you're allowed to. You have access to that for one fee. And it's $35 a month, which is super affordable, especially for the amount of, I mean, some of the coaches we have go to the Strengthlete Collective IG page or website. I mean, Laura Phelps, who is the absolute queen of powerlifting, Kevin Oak, world record, John Hack, who's an all-time world record holder, Nick Best, myself, Adam Dirks, and Kim Dirks. It's just so much knowledge in one spot that's never been done before.
It's really cool. It sounds interesting. We'll put a link down below for anyone that wants to go and check it out. And it definitely sounds very, very interesting. I know we're having a little chat about it as well. So, but go check it out, guys. The link I'll get Liz to put in the description below.
And I'm as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate. I'm pretty excited. I'm very excited. It's just
it comes across so it's so easy to see how passionate but you are just about strength and coaching and everything. It's really nice to see. You can really tell that you just genuinely love what you do. It massively comes across. So it's awesome to see. I want to. I love the coaching side of things, and I could easily go off on a tangent, but we got to remember you are still a great athlete, and you're still a competitive athlete. So, unfortunately, bicep injury. Tell us about that this year.
I was actually in June. I got contacted by a promoter here who was like, "Hey, do you want a shot at a world record block press?" Which I was like, "Oh, okay," because I actually do have a pretty good strict press, which is imperative if you're going to be good at block. Mm-hmm. So I was like, "When is it?" He's like, "Next month." I was like, "All right. Let's go," because I'll tell you one thing, athletes, especially 105, if you don't take the opportunities, they're never going to come. You have to jump on it. No matter if you're ready, you have to be ready. Let's go. Like, otherwise you're just going to get looked over.
Very well said.
And so I was training for it in a couple sessions. I was actually going to smash it. Cause I think the record for the 105 class is 282.
Okay. I was going to ask what the record is. I
282 in training. I was hitting 310, like, pretty fairly easy. And it was accessory day, and I did a pull-up, and my bicep tendon snapped, the distal right here. I felt it pop. I heard it. It didn't roll up, so I actually thought I just did like a muscle belly thing.
Yeah.
And it was 3 weeks till the attempt, so I just kind of like rested and thought I could maybe still do it and wrap it up with a cuff or whatever. And the week before, I just tested it out, the block, and it was empty, and it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I went and got checked out, and like, yeah, it's fully detached. And I was like, oh shoot, like, oh, okay.
You didn't even know.
I do have a fairly good pain tolerance. So.
Well, it comes across with obviously the events that you're really good at as well. You can cope with that pain, but yeah, when you tear a bicep, you should know about it.
like I had half the set. I heard the pop and I felt it, but it didn't. There was no bruising. There was just a little bit of pain. I could still press. So I was very confused, like, in my mind, like, should I go? I really want this world record now because I'm so close.
Yeah.
and I got it fixed, and recovery's been good. I'm a little over 2 months post-op now.
Okay.
It was like the very end of July when it happened. So, yeah, things are going. I'm starting to train again finally, a little bit. I took the whole time off.
Sorry,
I've taken the whole time off since surgery.
Okay, so you're not trained much at all?
No, almost none. And it was a chance to reset mentally and physically. And I tell you what, it feels nice.
Yeah.
I should have done this years ago. not that with the break.
Do you find like you've now got the bug to kind of get training hard again?
Oh yeah, I miss training. I don't really have any competitions lined up, but I'm actually enjoying the process of building again. Because I've lost. I mean, you lose strength when you don't train, or I was eating whatever, and I just having fun. So I lost a good amount of strength, and I'm building it back up, and I'm actually it's fun, like coming back and like realizing, oh, I get to build again. Like I'm not just beating my body up, maintaining. I actually am getting something out of it again.
I'm very much in the same position right now myself, because no real focus on any comps or anything like that. My main focus right now is actually just bringing my body weight down, just for health reasons. But I've just started to see now that I'm back training regularly again, because I like yourself. I mean, especially when the lockdown happened over here, I just didn't train at all, and I lost strength, didn't eat right. And now I'm just noticing, like, okay, each week I'm starting to feel a little bit stronger, and I'm just thinking, oh, maybe I'll do something again. But I've set that goal of getting I want to get down to 140 kilos, which is still way too heavy. But I was up at 170 at one point, so it's coming down. I've got about 15 more kilos to go, and then we'll reevaluate again. But just enjoying training without that pressure of having a contest to be aiming for is quite nice.
Yeah, because I started in 2015, and then I just went. So it was 3 or 4 years where I was just competing all the time. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but it's tough to build when you're just competing. And also, you get a certain point in your strength where you're not seeing the returns necessarily. I mean, obviously you do get stronger over time, but it takes longer and longer. So it's kind of nice to go to like a new lifter style where like I see every week, like you said, every week you see some strength gain. You're like, yes, it motivates you to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. So what's the goal then going forward? Obviously with this injury, this year's kind of out, I guess.
Yeah, this year's out. Honestly, America's Strongest Man 105 is in like 3-4 weeks. I'm feeling good.
You just
4 months post-op.
You just sat there saying this year's out, and now you're thinking a month's time. Are you defending champion or?
No, I came in second last year to Terry Ratty.
Okay.
He beat me last year. He's a very good 105 athlete.
Cool.
And that goes to show people, by the way, because 2 weeks after that, I won my second world title. And
it's a really interesting and it's probably one of the worst things about strongman. I mean, you're called the world's strongest man, but it doesn't mean you win every single competition that you do. It's a sport at the end of the day, and over my time in strongman, I've beaten every single top guy there is, but I've also lost to them as well. And it's I
will never forget. I think it was Europe's Strongest Man when you beat Thor.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, you looking all humble, but that was one of the things. I mean, as a fan of, I compete, but I'm also a fan of the sport.
Yeah,
seeing stuff like that is just nothing against Thor, but I was just like, yes.
Yeah, well, I think people love to see an underdog win. That's just the nature of what we do. When you've seen a guy, I mean, Thor won 5 Europe's Strongest Man titles, or 6, something like that. I can't even remember. And there's little old me that's kind of like in between there that stopped him. It was great because literally everyone, the athletes, the fans, they didn't want Thor to win, and it wasn't even anything against him. It wasn't even there wasn't this rivalry between him and Eddie at the time. It was just when an athlete becomes that dominant.
No one likes a dynasty.
Yeah, when someone else slips in and wins, but that's sport. At the end of the day, he made a mistake. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a better athlete than Thor, but in sport, you go there, you prepare as well as you can, and then you sometimes need a little bit of luck to go your way. And
it's all about being better that day, not better overall. One less mistake, one less error, one less. I don't know, one more breath you took.
every single contest I've done, and I'm sure yourself and all the athletes, we'll all sit there and go, if only I did this, or if only that was a half a second more, if I only got one more rep on this. But that's all the learning process. You can't worry about the ifs onlys. You just got to give the best that you can, and then you reevaluate and learn from it. And actually, I learn a lot more when I lose than I do when I win.
You don't learn anything when you win, except how to feel happy, I guess. Other than that, like, you don't learn anything.
I don't know about you, but I'm never that happy. I'm happy for like a split second, then it's like, meh, could have been better on this, could have been better on that. I want it more.
You know, I mean, you're right. Like, I've actually, both times I've won the worlds, I was almost flabbergasted that I won. Like, I'm just like, oh man, like it was surreal to me both times. Even when I was a favorite to come back, you know, because I was beat up when I came back for the second one, and I was just like, this is y'all's chance because I'm hurting right now, and I managed to find a way, and it was just like, wow.
That's what champions do, though, buddy. You know, you dig deep and you come out on top. Winning is a skill. It's a lot of people don't realize. I know some incredibly strong athletes that have never won anything, and it's because when it comes under that pressure, they often bottle it, or there's they haven't got that ability to dig deep when it really, really counts.
Couldn't agree more. I 100% agree with that. It's for example, the deadlift ladder we do at our worlds, the official Strongman games. Both years I've won that without being the best deadlifter by far. It's because I gamed it right. I was a little more reckless than them, because calculated recklessness.
Yeah.
And I attacked it. It just, some people, they need that setup in the deadlift, where I trained to just grip it and rip it because I knew that's going to win.
World's Strongest Man this year, I think they've got the log medley. So similar to the deadlift ladder. It's like a log ladder. And I actually think someone like Kiriashkovsky, if he's not injured, he could win that and not be the best log lifter in that show.
Because of how he presses and how he moves. I've seen that dude move way faster than anyone his size should move.
Yeah.
Especially with press. Like, I've seen him viper. What did he do? He vipered like 390 reps.
400 pounds. He's just insane. And I mean, it's going to be an interesting battle. I still don't know the final list of athletes. I'm sure it's going to keep changing until it gets closer and closer.
It's going to turn into America's Strongest Man. Unfortunately, it's kind of starting to go that route.
I think I mean, I'd still rather World's Strongest Man went ahead than no worlds at all. And let's remember, the first ever World's Strongest Man was basically America's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So I think the show needs to happen, and I think I'm kind of hopeful that it will. But I think you're right.
Times like this, it needs to happen. Yes, no matter what. I mean, it needs some sort of normalization, and that's anytime you can get something normal, you got to do it now.
Yeah, I mean, all of us want to see competitions back to normal and be able to compete, and I certainly do. I want to be able to travel to the show, support the guys. If maybe even make a comeback at some point. You never know. Maybe for the Masters or something like that, go to the OSG or something like that. But right now, there's really not a lot happening. So, I mean, you guys have got the US Nationals this weekend, is it?
Yeah, it is. Starts tomorrow, actually. Weigh-ins were today, and the competition starts tomorrow. That's why I'm at the hotel right now. I got some athletes competing. My training partner is competing. So
awesome. Some big names competing this weekend, or is it more weight classes? Yeah.
So with our nationals, it's all amateur.
Okay.
Right, and then they earn their professional status.
This is a chance to become a pro.
Yes.
Excellent. Is there any? I was just going to say, is there any sort of weird restrictions that you've got to go through at the moment? The amount of people that can be there, that kind of thing.
Normally they do it by normally they would do it by event. So everyone would do the deadlift. Everyone would do They're breaking it up by gender, and the ladies are going in the morning, the men in the afternoon, because you can't have that many people in one spot. We have to do the masks thing, which is good luck with the Strongman community getting to wear masks. Holy crap!
So they've got to wear a mask while competing.
No, they can take it off while they compete.
That's okay. Yeah, I was going to say that would drive me mad.
I mean, it's not comfortable.
No, when you've got a beard like this as well, it's even worse. I struggle.
I couldn't imagine, because I got the Captain America thing going, so I don't have to worry about the beard. But
you're looking smooth and sharp there, mate. It's good. But yeah, when you have a beard and a mask, it just kind of like pushes it down. You can't see properly. Literally, if there's little kids, like my little girl, if she's walking in front of me, I think I'm going to step on her. It's starting to drive me mad, I'll be honest. But hopefully we get through this situation as quickly and as efficiently as possible and can get back to some normality. But
I think if several misses is just normal.
I'm really starting to now. At first, it was like, okay, let's just sort it, but it just seems to be dragging now, and it's.
I agree. Yeah,
I certainly wouldn't want to be a world leader and have to make these decisions, but I think
any of them with this kind of thing, like it's like yes, I'm going to complain, but I don't want to do it myself.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to just sit here and judge from the side.
Yeah.
But I'll focus on strongman and the stuff
Yeah.
that I know something about.
Agreed.
So I think I asked you, but we said you may be thinking about in a month's time doing the under 105 nationals.
Yeah. I wouldn't be competitive. Probably. I mean, who knows? But I love being around the guys. I love competing, and if I can just be around there and competitive and just be with them, if I can help somebody else do better because I'm there and they're motivated to beat me, I mean, let's go. Like, that's what this is about. To me, it's not. Yes, I love winning. I'd be a fool not to. But to me, it's about just competing and bettering myself and everyone and being the sport, being around the people. I love the people of the sport so much. I can't state it enough. Once again, that's why I started this, because I love strength sports and I love the people. And if I can be there to help anybody, that's really what, even if it's me competing, gets this guy to do another rep because he's like, oh, screw you, world's strongest man. I'm going to beat you. Hey, I'm there for you.
That's good. You're going to motivate your opposition. I like it. So do you have any sort of ultimate goals with strongman? You know, is there like, oh, you go on, tell me.
I've been on the organizers. So I'm the 2 times world's strongest man for official strongman.
Yeah.
I remember last year I was like, so do I get a Giants Live North America invite, like wild card? Like, I mean, that'd be logical because I think that it's a pipeline. So guys that win the worlds, the 105s, like, okay, you get a wild card invite to Giants Live. So it gives people a reason to move up in the class. You get new talent that otherwise would not have had that choice.
Yeah.
So I've been pushing for that. We'll see if it ever happens.
Have they got back to you?
They got back to me a little bit. Then COVID happened. I was pushing. Okay. Yeah, and that changed everything. But I was talking with them about it, and I think they were warming up to the idea. I think it would get just. I mean, selfishly, yes, I would like it. But also, if you gave that to the 105 champion every year, that's a hell of a
becomes a good stepping stone, because then you've got that ability where, okay, now I've won the world. Now I've got to push up if I want to be competitive against these.
Creates another route, another avenue for athletes to better themselves, get new blood, and I think that would be a great idea. So let's do it.
I think just in general, having a good qualifying system will definitely help strongman. It's well overdue, especially with all the kind of. I mean, it's happened every year. People kind of bring up names, but as people were talking about certain names getting invites and certain people not getting invites.
I was very loud about Charles Mitchell not getting an invite.
I saw. I mean, Trey is a very, very good athlete, and obviously he made the final last year. He's improving all the time, but he's not a social media presence.
Not at all. He's just a
good dude that likes to, train. And I actually got told off by ESPN because I called him a country bumpkin. I can say what I want on my show, but I meant it in a really affectionate way.
Yeah.
I think in the UK, it's more of like an affectionate term, but there's a bit of a
country as hell.
Yeah. But he's such a nice guy.
Yes.
Extremely strong, extremely talented, and just hard work, and gets on with what he does. And he wins shows, he wins competitions. He's smashing big numbers, but he doesn't have that huge following, so he doesn't put so much bums on seats. And that's maybe that's something he needs to look at working on as well. But there's so much great talent that's getting overlooked sometimes for people that can just put bums on seats.
I agree. I think what has happened is recently some of the top guys have done such a good job of creating their own brand that people are starting to expect it. But you got to remember, that's not been that way always, and that's not the norm. It really isn't. A lot of times the sport creates a star. The star doesn't create the sport. Stars will never create the sport. That's not how this works. So if they want to create stars, the sport, the people running it have to put in the effort as well. They can't just rely on the athletes, because we've been blessed with the personalities in the past 5, 6.
We have some great personalities. Yeah, it's brilliant.
We've been blessed. It hasn't always been that way. It's usually been like one guy or two guys, maybe.
Do you think social media has allowed that person? Because I think there's always been personalities. There's just now more ability to see it on a regular basis.
That's very good point. Yes, I think that's a very, very, very good point, and I think it's true. And I wish, but the problem is not everybody is adept at that. Yeah. Like Trey, God bless him. I've never seen someone deadlift so much weight and not get recognition. Like, I think he pulled 900 for a few reps, and people were just like, who is he? Like,
It's a real shame as well, because then he got that opportunity with the World Ultimate Strongman, but he literally did everything himself. And I think if he was just a bit more, vocal, there would have been loads of people there to help him. But
I think that's how he trains, and he didn't want to change anything up.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that's a big reason behind that. And that makes sense to me. It sucked. It turned out it obviously wasn't a good thing, because he definitely could perform better. But you learn. That was his first time on a stage going for a record type thing as well. So it was a learning experience.
I think I said this a few weeks back, but he's still very young and like new to the sport. It's still a learning curve. That he's going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Doesn't matter what level you're at. You've got to learn from them. Hopefully, he gets some more. I think now he has actually been listed as one of the athletes for Worlds, so he's got his opportunity. And I've said this all. Sorry,
I hope he just gets in there and just runs amok like a bull in a china shop.
He's looking great. He really is. And I think for people that aren't sure if they're going now, right now is the perfect opportunity. So like you said yourself, you take that opportunity if it arises. There is a possibility for a lot of guys that are sort of just on the brink that might get a call up. So stay ready. It's a shame you're not in shape. Otherwise, I'd be saying, if you weren't injured, you just don't know what possibilities will happen this year, and you've got to take that opportunity when it comes.
It goes back to coaching and training. I always try and maintain my physical ability 3 to 4 weeks to peak. Like I never really take an off season necessarily. I'm always consistently ready. I deload when I need to, but it's not extended periods of time, because once again, I've had opportunities come up where it's like, hey, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Got to be able to do it.
Be ready to step in at the last minute.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Anthony. I hope I wish your athletes luck this weekend. I'm sure they'll do fantastically well. I look forward to seeing you back in full action. Do you reckon about another month and we could be seeing you back on the stage?
It's a possibility. It is a possibility. We'll see.
I can see that glint in your eye. You want to do it. He's going to sneak in last minute. Does no one else know that you're going to be competing at the moment?
No. I mean, the guys are like poking me, like, "Hey, I see you deadlift again." I'm like, "I don't know." Like,
I know the feeling. You sort of just start getting back to you. Like, I can still do this. I can hang with it.
Exactly.
I've been like that with a few of my training partners recently. They're doing really well. They're getting stronger and stronger, and I'm just sort of hanging with them and starting to. Think I can still do this.
It's that little thing in the back of your head. It never goes away.
Yeah, it's that competitor in us. Anyway, buddy, take it easy. Thank you so much for coming on. If people want to find you on Instagram, tell everyone where you are, please.
I'm at Anthony Fuhrman Strong Personal. Then there's the Strengthlete Collective. And I'm on YouTube, but I don't use it much. I'm not a YouTube guy. It's not my thing. So
no worries. We'll do the YouTube for you.
There you go.
Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the chat with Anthony. Give us a like. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with more strength action soon. While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.